Do you know why most people will never get rich or stay happy? It's not because they lack talent, time, or opportunity. It's because they never learned the one principle that creates both wealth and joy at once. Today, you're about to discover that principle and how to put it to work, and by the time we're done, your excuses will be dead and your destiny will be alive. Let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when a voice inside whispers, there must be more. More than paying bills, more than fleeting pleasures, more than clocking in, clocking out, and dying with dreams still buried in your chest. That moment is a spark, and if you guard it well, it becomes a flame that can set your entire world ablaze with purpose, prosperity, and peace. Today, I offer you no gimmicks, no secrets hidden in vaults. What I offer you is a blueprint time-tested, soul-proven, and sharpened by the lives of those who climbed from failure to fortune, from despair to joy. But I must warn you, if you watch this to the end, you will no longer have the comfort of ignorance. You'll know exactly what must be done, and that knowledge, if you act upon it, will change everything. The starting point of all achievement, whether in wealth, joy, relationships, or influence, is a clear, unwavering, well-defined purpose. Without a definite purpose, the mind wanders. It becomes like a ship without a rudder, tossed by the waves of chance, the winds of opinion, and the currents of distraction. But once the mind is harnessed and pointed toward a specific goal, it becomes a force of nature. It starts to pull ideas, people, opportunities, and circumstances into alignment with that purpose. The universe itself seems to respond to a mind that knows exactly what it wants and refuses to accept anything less. Take, for example, a young man who says, "I want to be rich." That is not a definite purpose. That is a wish, a vague hope, an empty phrase that lacks precision. What does rich mean? $1 million? 10 million? By when? Doing what? The same man, transformed by thought and clarity, may one day say, "I will build a consulting business that earns $500,000 a year within the next 4 years by helping small companies automate their client onboarding." Now that is definite. It is specific, measurable, and time-bound. It tells the mind what to focus on, what to ignore, and what to pursue. It gives the subconscious something to work on night and day. It turns invisible desires into visible outcomes. Look also at the lives of the most successful individuals in history. Andrew Carnegie didn't simply want to be rich. He had a clear purpose: to control the steel industry in America and use his wealth to advance education and peace. Thomas Edison didn't just want to invent something. He was driven by a precise goal to create an affordable, reliable electric light for the masses. Every hour of effort, every failure, every decision was guided by that central, definite aim. Their minds, instead of being scattered across multiple desires, were laser-focused on one goal, one outcome, one mission. This singularity of purpose is what drew resources to them, not the other way around. A person without definiteness of purpose drifts from job to job, idea to idea, always reacting to life rather than shaping it. They are busy but ineffective. They work hard but achieve little. They start projects and abandon them halfway. Their enthusiasm rises quickly and dies just as fast. But the man or woman of purpose is different. They may start slow, but once their path is set, their energy becomes unstoppable. Each morning brings direction. Each setback is just another step toward a known destination. They become magnetic, influential, and powerful, not because they are more talented, but because they are more directed. Definiteness of purpose, therefore, is not merely about choosing a goal. It is about committing to that goal so completely that everything else becomes secondary. It means letting go of vague ambitions and replacing them with targeted, actionable, compelling desires. It is the foundation upon which all plans, all strategies, and all accomplishments are built. Without it, wealth remains a fantasy and happiness remains elusive. But with it, even ordinary individuals can achieve extraordinary outcomes, not by chance, but by choice. Desire in its common form is weak. It flickers like a candle in the wind, easily swayed, easily extinguished. Most people live with desire. They desire a better home, more money, greater freedom, deeper joy. But those desires are idle daydreams. They speak of what they wish could happen, but they do not act. Their desire is like a match. It sparks for a moment, then fades. The great difference between the average individual and the extraordinary achiever lies in the transformation of this casual desire into an unrelenting, all-consuming, burning obsession. When desire becomes obsession, it moves from the head into the heart. It ceases to be an option and becomes a necessity. It is no longer something they want, it becomes something they must have. And in that shift, the entire energy of a person changes. They become focused. They become dangerous to mediocrity. They become unstoppable. Consider a man who says he wants to be wealthy. He reads books, watches videos, and even gets excited about the idea. But when difficulties arise, long nights, uncertainty, criticism, failure, he folds. His desire was never strong enough to carry him through the valleys. Now compare him to another man who must become wealthy not for vanity, but because he has a vision so vivid it wakes him in the morning and keeps him working deep into the night. Perhaps he's seen his mother work herself to exhaustion for decades, or he's grown tired of seeing his children go without. That man doesn't simply want success, he is driven by it. His desire burns like a furnace inside him. Obstacles don't stop him, they provoke him. He does not sleep peacefully until he has made progress. He does not waste time. His every thought, every conversation, every action is filtered through the lens of one burning question: will this bring me closer to my goal? This kind of obsession is not madness. It is focus elevated to the highest degree. It is how every invention, every fortune, every revolution has begun not with moderate interest, but with white-hot intent. When Wilbur and Orville Wright pursued the idea of human flight, they did so against a world that mocked them. They were not playing with a hobby. They were possessed by their vision. And because of that, they endured countless failures, crashes, and ridicule until they finally proved the impossible. Their obsession overruled the opinions of others. It pushed them to experiment in barns and fields while the rest of the world looked on with doubt, but they kept pushing because their desire had been set on fire. The transformation of desire into obsession often requires emotional fuel. Pain, injustice, humiliation, love, hunger, these are the sparks that ignite desire. A person who is merely interested will not endure suffering, but a person obsessed will walk through fire if they must. They will sacrifice comfort, leisure, and even relationships not out of cruelty, but because their goal calls louder than their fears. They have seen the life they want, and they will not rest until it is real. Their obsession becomes a filter through which they experience everything. They begin to reject what does not serve their mission. Time, energy, money, these are now precious commodities not to be wasted on triviality. Where once they wandered, now they march. Where once they doubted, now they demand. And because they demand more of life, life begins to yield. Faith is the unseen force that gives life to thought and transforms mere mental pictures into physical realities. It is the bridge between what you imagine and what you experience. Without faith, thoughts remain lifeless. They never gather momentum, never compel action, never attract the resources necessary for their fulfillment. But when a thought is believed in with absolute conviction, when a person becomes emotionally and mentally fused with their vision, the mind begins to operate on a higher frequency. Ideas take root more deeply. Courage is born. Action becomes automatic. Faith energizes the entire being and calls into existence the circumstances, people, and events that align with the belief held at the center of the mind. Most people entertain goals they never believe they can truly achieve. They wish, they hope, they try, but they never believe. They are like a farmer scattering seeds in soil he thinks is barren. No matter how many seeds he casts, no matter how sincerely he works, the crop never grows because the belief is wrong, and the subconscious mind refuses to mobilize its power in support of a lie. But when faith is present, when a person believes so deeply in an idea that it becomes part of their identity, everything begins to change. The tone of their voice, the pace of their step, the energy in their eyes, all of it shifts. They speak not as someone who hopes to succeed, but as someone who knows they will. Consider the story of Henry Ford. When he declared he would build a gasoline-powered vehicle for the average American, most of the world, including trained engineers and financial experts, laughed. But Ford had faith so deep in his vision that even the laws of mechanical possibility could not discourage him. His engineers told him again and again that the V8 engine he envisioned could not be built. Ford told them to stay at it again and again. "Build it anyway," he said, refusing to accept the supposed limits. Why? Because his faith was stronger than their logic. His belief was not theoretical, it was absolute, and that unwavering belief became the guiding force behind his persistence. Eventually, through faith-fueled perseverance, the impossible became reality. The V8 engine was created, and Ford changed the landscape of transportation forever. Faith does not require evidence. It creates evidence. It precedes proof, and in doing so, brings proof into being. A man with faith acts as if he already possesses what he seeks. He walks with confidence. He works with intensity. He speaks with assurance. People are drawn to him because belief is magnetic. Opportunities appear because faith sharpens the senses and tunes the mind to notice what others overlook. The faithful individual sees doors in places others see walls. They hear opportunity in the silence where others hear nothing. Faith activates the creative faculties of the brain, inspires initiative, and eliminates the paralyzing effects of doubt and fear. Doubt is the enemy of achievement, and fear is its accomplice. Together, they kill dreams before they ever take their first breath. But faith stands as their conqueror. A person who allows doubt to dominate their thoughts will never experience the fullness of what they are capable of. They may possess brilliant ideas, deep desire, even admirable skills, but without faith, their gifts remain dormant. The mind obeys its master, and when that master is timid, the mind performs timidly. When that master is bold with faith, the mind unleashes its full power in service of the goal. Faith, then, is not a mere emotional comfort. It is the activator of all mental and spiritual energy. It is the force that unlocks potential, the lever that lifts thought into action, and the power that transforms vision into victory. The human mind is a fertile garden. What you plant in it consistently, whether thoughts of fear or thoughts of faith, will grow. Autosuggestion is the method by which you plant those thoughts deliberately, repeatedly, and with emotion until the subconscious mind accepts them as truth. It is not mere repetition for repetition's sake. It is the intentional programming of the mind through repeated affirmations and mental imagery that are charged with feeling. The subconscious does not know the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is real. It accepts whatever is fed to it with repetition and emotion. Therefore, if you wish to master your destiny, if you wish to gain wealth, happiness, health, or success of any kind, you must begin by controlling the suggestions you give to your own mind. Most people, without realizing it, practice autosuggestion in reverse. They repeatedly say things like, "I'm not good enough," "I always fail," "Money is hard to come by," or "Nothing ever works out for me." Over time, these phrases sink into the subconscious, and the mind accepts them as commands. Life then begins to reflect those beliefs because the subconscious shapes behavior, influences perception, and filters reality to match the programming it has received. But the same process can be used to build a life of abundance, clarity, and confidence by feeding the mind with suggestions that serve the goal, not sabotage it. Imagine a woman who desires to become a successful public speaker, yet she struggles with self-doubt and fear. If she wakes up each morning and repeats with emotion, "I am a powerful, clear, and confident speaker. My words inspire and transform lives," and does this not once but dozens of times each day, while visualizing herself standing on a stage, receiving applause, speaking with clarity, she begins to rewire her internal blueprint. At first, it may feel false or awkward. The old beliefs will resist. But with persistence and emotional involvement, those new affirmations begin to take root. Her posture changes. Her tone changes. She begins to take small steps, joining a local speaking group, recording herself, seizing opportunities because her subconscious now believes she is a speaker. Her reality begins to rearrange itself in alignment with the new identity. The power of autosuggestion lies not in magic, but in mechanism. The brain operates on patterns. Neural pathways are formed and strengthened by repetition. Every affirmation spoken with intensity begins to lay new tracks in the mind. These tracks become beliefs. Beliefs dictate choices. Choices lead to actions, and actions lead to results. In this way, a simple daily ritual, 5 minutes of intentional affirmation, combined with vivid mental imagery, can redirect the entire course of a person's life. It is not a one-time event, but a discipline. Just as a bodybuilder strengthens muscles through daily resistance, a person strengthens their mindset through daily suggestion. Furthermore, autosuggestion is most powerful when paired with definiteness of purpose. When you know exactly what you want and you affirm that vision consistently and with feeling, you give your mind a target. You stop wandering and start programming. It's like setting a destination in a GPS. Once the mind knows where to go, it begins to calculate the route, alert you to opportunities, and guide your behavior in subtle yet profound ways. The people you meet, the ideas that arise, the decisions you make, these begin to shift in ways that feel like coincidence, but are in fact the results of mental reconditioning. General knowledge, while useful in conversation and social settings, rarely brings power or profit. It fills the mind with facts, trivia, and scattered information, but it does not sharpen it toward any particular aim. Specialized knowledge, on the other hand, is the kind that becomes a lever. It multiplies effort, attracts opportunity, and creates value in the marketplace. It is focused, refined, and aimed at a specific purpose. It is the kind of knowledge that solves problems, fills gaps, and answers the question that others are too lazy or distracted to answer. And because it is rare, it becomes powerful. Those who acquire specialized knowledge and combine it with action and purpose become indispensable in any field. They create wealth not because they know more, but because they know better. They know something that others either don't know or can't apply. Too many people believe that a college degree or a general education is the key to wealth. They point to their certificates and wonder why prosperity doesn't knock at their door. But the world does not pay for degrees, it pays for applied intelligence, for useful solutions, for impact. A man could spend 20 years studying philosophy, literature, or history and still be unable to create wealth because he has learned broadly, not deeply. Contrast that with the individual who learns everything there is to know about a specific market, how to acquire undervalued real estate, how to write persuasive marketing copy, how to manage logistics in international trade. That individual has leverage. He can turn his knowledge into contracts, clients, cash flow. He knows something that solves a real need, and therefore he is paid. Look at the example of a young woman who once worked in a crowded office, earning an average salary doing clerical work. She grew frustrated with the limits of her income and decided to learn something that could elevate her value. She chose digital marketing, specifically how to run profitable online advertising campaigns. She studied courses, experimented on her own time, analyzed successful campaigns, and became obsessed with understanding the psychology behind buying decisions. Within a year, she had acquired enough specialized knowledge to manage paid advertising for small businesses. Her first client doubled their revenue in 3 months. Word spread. She left her clerical job and started consulting full-time. What changed was not her work ethic, it was the value of the knowledge she possessed. She moved from being easily replaceable to being sought after, not by chance, but by mastering something specific. Specialized knowledge is not static, it must be pursued continuously. It must evolve with the marketplace and be applied with creativity. It is not merely about knowing facts, it is about knowing how to use those facts to create outcomes. It can be found in books, mentorships, hands-on experience, and observation, but it must be pursued intentionally. The person who says, "I know enough," closes the door to growth, but the one who says, "I will master this," opens the door to leverage. Leverage is what allows one person to earn in a day what another earns in a month. It is what allows one entrepreneur to scale while another struggles. And the root of that leverage, again and again, is specialized knowledge that is concentrated, sharpened, and aimed like a spear toward a definite goal. Failure is inevitable. It is the testing ground of all ambition, the crucible where dreams are either refined or destroyed. Most people interpret failure as a signal to stop an endpoint, but those who rise above mediocrity understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. It is not a dead end, but a detour. Persistence is the quality that transforms those detours into stepping stones. It is the iron will that refuses to retreat when faced with resistance. It is the refusal to accept defeat as final. Where others see a wall, the persistent person sees a challenge to be overcome, a puzzle to be solved, or a new strategy to be applied. Persistence is the alchemy that takes the raw material of defeat and transforms it into the gold of fortune, not through luck, but through deliberate endurance. Most individuals will begin a task with enthusiasm. The start is always easy, energized by hope and novelty. But the moment adversity appears, most abandon the path. They interpret early struggles as signs that they are on the wrong path. But the persistent person sees struggle as validation that they are doing something worthwhile. They expect resistance. They prepare for setbacks. They welcome difficulty as the sharpening stone of character and skill. Every failure becomes a lesson, every delay a refinement of approach. They do not quit because the prize is too far. They continue because they have decided that quitting is not an option. Consider the example of Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. At age 65, when most people are retiring, he began selling his fried chicken recipe to restaurants. He traveled across America, pitching his idea to restaurant owners. He was rejected over 1,000 times before he received his first yes. Think of that, not 10, not 100, but over 1,000 rejections. And yet he persisted. He believed in his product. He had tested it, refined it, and knew it would bring value. Where others would have seen humiliation, he saw opportunity. Eventually, his persistence paid off. He built one of the most recognizable restaurant brands in the world, not because of genius, but because of grit. The world often yields not to the most talented, but to the most determined. Persistence is more powerful than genius, more valuable than privilege, and more enduring than enthusiasm. It is the trait that outlasts rejection, ridicule, and even failure itself. It is the discipline of continuing to show up, to do the work, to refine the plan, and to believe in the outcome even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Those who possess persistence move forward when others pause. They keep knocking when doors remain closed. And eventually those doors open not because they were easier to open, but because persistence refused to stop knocking. Persistence is forged through decision and strengthened by purpose. When a person has a definite goal, fueled by desire and belief, persistence becomes natural. It becomes not a choice but a necessity. The mind, once set on an aim and fed with repeated affirmations, begins to view obstacles as temporary. Time no longer intimidates. Setbacks no longer discourage. Each failure is dissected, understood, and used as fuel. Over time, this kind of unrelenting consistency wears down resistance, turns skepticism into trust, and transforms small beginnings into great fortunes. Wealth is not only money, it is the ability to live life on your own terms. Happiness is not a fleeting emotion. It is the state of knowing you are aligned with your highest purpose. When you pursue both with clear vision, burning desire, unwavering faith, self-programmed thought, applied knowledge, and relentless persistence, you will have what others only dream of. And more importantly, you'll have become the kind of person who can keep it. Now, go define what you want and don't stop until it's yours.